Well, it's Thursday, and it's time for some political updates here from Israel. I'm here in my sukkah around, uh, and I want to talk about the debate a little bit. I want to talk about I want to talk about what's going on in the world generally, and I want to talk how we are supposed to react to everything that's going on. What are we supposed to do about this? Is Israel really at risk with UNESCO or the UN or anywhere else? And of course, before I begin, first things first. First I need everyone to do right now is that link that I put up just now. Is for soldiers. We have the water packs going out. We just got clearing all Border Patrol soldiers. So I need everyone to please hit the link and do whatever you can. Sponsor 1, 10, a full unit, whatever you can. All right, let's get going. We have, first of all, we're going to talk about UNESCO. Last week I spoke about this a lot, and I got a lot of reactions. Most of them were very good. Some of them were a little bit harsh, but that's fine. And the question, what do we do with this? So number one, for those of you not listening to my live show on Israel News Talk Radio, 13 out of the 24 countries that voted for this decision in UNESCO were Islamic regimes. Now, besides the fact there were Islamic, you know what really saddens me is that there was not a single Islamic regime that said, wait a second, guys, you can't do this. It's historically false. Right? Imagine if Israel said, there's no connection between the Muslims and Mecca or Medina. So you would have even the Israelis say that's not true. Right? And there wasn't a single Islamic regime that had the integrity or honesty say, you know what, UNESCO, you can't do this. We could say we want the land, but you can't fool everyone. And unfortunately, there wasn't one. And the reason there wasn't one is because they actually do think that they can fool people. I'm going to make sure everyone's invited here. I wanted to get invited to the live feed. Then I'm complain afterwards. I've gotten some complaints. They were never invited. All right, so what are we supposed to do? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We have a major problem here. Those who say that if we just behave ourselves and do what the world wants and just give up some land or give up some this and just not fight the world, that they'll love us more, that they'll be in Israel's favor. Look, here's a news flash, okay? The governments of the world are not going to be in Israel's favor. The only reason they voted for the state of Israel in 1948 was they felt sorry for keeping their mouths closed when 6 million Jews were marching to the death chambers. They had some kind of conscience, some guilty conscience, that while Jews were being burned and shot and gassed, nobody did a thing. And when I mean nobody, I mean nobody. The government of the United States of America flew over those train tracks out 150 times, if I'm not mistaken, and did bomb them. And people were burned because it didn't make sense diplomatically for America to get involved. They stayed neutral. When you stay neutral in such an evil war, it makes you part of the evilness. And I'm not talking about the American people, because let's be real. The American people is not exactly the American government. We see that clearly over the last 8 years. And I hope it's not going to be the same over the next 8 years, but that's a whole different story. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But the point is the world is not going to pat us on the back and say, yeah, you guys were okay. The only time they do that is when we die. It is the only time that they'll come to a funeral, right? Obama will come to a funeral, to Paris' funeral. People were like, oh, he was so nice to come. Really? Because the day after he came to Israel, the funeral, and they were press conference and saying that he came to Jerusalem and crossed Israel. So can you explain to me, please, what is the difference between UNESCO by a majority of Islamic regimes which don't give freedom to anybody in their own country, and say that Jews have no connection to Obama and his government crossing out the word Israel when he mentions Jerusalem? There's no difference. It's all about politics, and we have to wake up and smell the coffee. I don't want to say smell anything else because that would be vulgar. But really, it's all about politics. The world is never going to pat us and say, good job. The UN will never do that for us. UNESCO certainly will never do that for us. It's not going to happen. This decision with UNESCO is not shocking to me. I'm not depressed or angry over it. Certainly not, people saying I'm very disappointed. What are you disappointed about? The 24 countries that voted for this decision were Islamic regimes, undemocratic countries, dictatorships, and countries that don't have freedom. What do you expect from them, and why is it that when these countries vote to fabricate history that you're offended by that? In other words, I think that only the person on the very far left, or even central left, will be surprised by this. Oh my God, because they're ruining their fantasy world. Their fantasy world is if Israel agrees to give up some land and make some concessions to those who are trying to murder us, everything will be honky-dory. It'll be great. There'll be peace. We'll make doves in the air, and we'll have a signing on the White House. We'll get the Nobel Peace Prize. So that person who built themselves a fantasy world, a fantasy land, are very upset that UNESCO comes out with this vote because it blows their Cinderella world. Now they have to realize that truth has nothing to do with this, and this has nothing to do with land, right? Because as soon as the UNESCO says that Jerusalem has nothing to do with the Jewish nation, I mean, how do you even respond to that with a straight face? It's absolutely ridiculous. So what do we have to do? Why does it fall on us? I'm taking responsibility for this. I'm putting the responsibility, and I've said this several times, thank God Benjamin Netanyahu is in the driver's seat and not the left-wing alternative. Thank God for little things. That being said, Netanyahu reacted furiously over the UNESCO decision, and I'm happy that he did. But the bottom line is, Netanyahu gave an order to his own parliament members that they are not allowed, they are prohibited to go up in the Temple Mount. So, Mr. Netanyahu, if you're giving such orders to distancing Jews, your parliament members, from going on the Temple Mount, the holiest place in the world for Jews, why are you criticizing UNESCO? I mean, can you imagine, the Muslims ever saying Muslims shouldn't go up to Mecca because it'll upset the Jews? I mean, we have an army, right? We're no longer in the ghetto, right? Even the beginning of the state, the new Zionist, that's called the secular Zionist movement, which, built the state, certainly was responsible. I'm not taking that away from anyone, but they believe this new Jew that we're not going to do this anymore in the ghettos. Well, we're doing that. We're doing that. We're saying we're not allowing, MKs, members of the Knesset, to go up in Temple Mount because we're scared of what the Muslims are going to do. Who's in charge? But it gets worse than that. Mr. Netanyahu, again, I'm so happy that you're prime minister, and it's not Bougie Herzog or Tzipi Livni. I'm very happy. But you gotta give an order to stop arresting Jews for praying on the Temple Mount. I really don't understand how you could do that how anybody can do that with a straight face. Can you imagine if another country said that Jews can't pray in a certain area out of total lack of freedom of religion? I know Benjamin Netanyahu will be the first one there, speaking, giving a beautiful speech, calling what it is anti-Semitism. So I don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu is an anti-Semite, but if you're not willing to stand up for what's yours, how could you expect the world to say it's yours? I mean, if you're keeping Jews and arresting Jews for praying on the Temple Mount, then what do you want for UNESCO? And again, I don't think that you're part of them. Of course not. I know that you're a proud Jew, and I know that you're a proud Zionist. I know that. I just think we have to change our behavior pattern. We have to stop behaving like we're in the ghetto. Okay, world opinion is important. Well, maybe it isn't. It is. I don't know. But we've given up the Gaza Strip. We've kicked 10,000 Jews out of their homes. We dug up the Jewish dead. We dug up the Jewish dead because we were fearful that the Muslims in Gaza would desecrate those cemeteries. Well, if you have that kind of fear and you're dealing with such people who are going to desecrate graves, which they did in the past, then why are you leaving the area and giving it up to them? Now look, 2020 vision in hindsight. Everyone's got 2020 in hindsight. No, not true. We had 2020 vision before it happened. We warned everyone. You can look at this in the Knesset. They said, if you give up the Gaza Strip, you kick the Jews out of Gush Katif, you have Mizrah Asad, you have Mizrah Ashkelon, and the left-wing left. You can look at the speeches in the Knesset from 2005. They laughed at us. They said it's ridiculous. It's fear factor. Fear factor. It's happening. It's happening. You think Gilad Shalit would have been locked in Gaza for 5-6 years if we still had Jewish towns in Gush Katif? Is that a joke? We have a situation now. There are still 2 soldiers who were suspected killed in Gaza war who are somewhere in Gaza. We can't get their bodies back. You think that would happen if we would have been responsible for the security in the Gaza Strip? Of course not. So we got to wake up. We gave the Gaza Strip away. Did it help public opinion? Listen, it not only did it not help public opinion, it made it worse. We've got these flotillas coming in. We've got the whole world talking about an open air, what do they call it? Prison. People call it a concentration camp. Now the facts are the facts that 3 malls have been opened up in Gaza, and 5-star hotels have been opened up in Gaza, and water parks have been opened up in Gaza. The water parks have been burned down by Hamas, but world opinion did not get better when we gave them land. It got worse. It got horrifically worse. So why, again, you make a mistake once, okay, but how many times can we make this mistake when we realize that land for peace is not a real equation? Now, what happened to the right? What happened to those who are standing up for the truth? Well, if the left stand for peace, what are the rights? They stand for war, right? Wrong. The fact that you call giving land up to the Arabs peace doesn't make it peace. The fact that you call me a warmonger because I don't want to give land up doesn't really make me a warmonger. In fact, if you look throughout history, it was the left that brought on all wars in Israel, not the right wing. And today, unfortunately, in the Israeli Knesset, the right wing doesn't really have representation. Now, what do I want? That is an excellent question. I'm going to tell you my solution, okay? And before you deal with the solution, I always say you have to define the problem. The reason that we're talking about a solution is because we're getting murdered. The reason we're talking about what to do is because we're getting murdered, because the radical Islamic terrorists are murdering Jews in Israel. When the guy went to the Tel Aviv restaurant, you can't really charge Tel Aviv with being an ultra-Orthodox anything. When the Islamic terrorist went to the Tel Aviv restaurant, he was asking people, are you Jewish? Because they weren't wearing kippahs. So, I mean, why didn't he ask them, do you live in the settlements? Because this has nothing to do with land. This is a religious conflict, and it doesn't matter how secular you are. I don't like using the word secular. If you are part of the Jewish nation right now, you are a problem for those who want to destroy us. And that is why we're talking about a solution, because the problem is getting killed. The problem is that Muslims are radical Muslims throwing houses in Hebron and stabbing girls 35 times and slapping necks to make sure they're dead. Stabbing mothers, shooting up fathers in front of their kids, throwing kids out windows from birds to windows, and they're so that Yasser Arafat, shooting Israeli athletes in Munich. That was Abu Mazen. What does it have to do with land? We have to get out of the predicament. It has nothing to do with land. The problem is Islamic terrorism. And the solution we've been talking about, first of all, who met people like Yasser Arafat, they don't want to do it. Unfortunately, there's really no one in that area which is willing to stand up, and it's got to stop. Oslo did not cause anything peaceful. The more people died since Oslo, and the result of Oslo, and control areas, the 30 years prior to that peace process, war and occupation, all those scary words, more people died as a result of peace process. The equation doesn't work. So first of all, before I discuss what it has to do, let me tell you what's got to stop. Okay, we have to stop giving in to the fabricated narrative of the Arabs. They do not deserve any national rights here. Period. The same way that Jews don't deserve any national rights in Mecca. They don't deserve any national rights in the land of Israel. Anywhere. The fact that now they're sitting in Jordan and Lebanon, okay, we're not doing anything about it, and I'm not suggesting we do anything about it. But in Israel, Judea, area where Judaism flourished and started, King David started his kingdom in Hebron. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried in Hebron. Right? Kever Yosef, Joseph's graves in Nablus and Shechem. What does it have to do with the Muslims? Okay, we have to stop accepting the narrative of those who want to destroy us and start telling the truth. Forget narrative, telling the truth. UNESCO said it has nothing to do with Jews, Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and the Kotel. Why are you shocked? Why are you depressed over that? I'm happy over it. They've taken off their mask. We have to learn now. Number one, stop making deals with terrorists. If your problem is Islamic terrorism, then the only solution is a 7.76 or a 5.56 bullet. Not because I want to kill people, because they're coming to kill me. If someone comes to kill you and you deal with them and talk to them while they're murdering your people, you are not a peace activist. You're a suicide case. You don't do that. If the problem is Islamic terrorism, then deal with it as Islamic terrorism. You want to talk about peaceful Arabs, Muslims, Christians, whatever in Judea and Samaria, fine, let's talk about them. Let's talk about them. The day Arabs want to live in peace, peace will be instantaneous. There will be no delay. There will be no process. You don't need a process with someone who wants to make peace. If you want to live in peace, poof, peace is here. I mean, Jericho, Gaza, we gave Gaza away. They could have made an oasis in Gaza. They didn't. They built the place up into a military zone. And don't give me this, Hamas took it over. They democratically voted Hamas. Yes, there were no elections afterwards. But guess what? There were no elections in the PA either. He's been president or chancellor, whatever you want to call Abu Mazen Abbas, for 11 years. There has been no elections. Stop. Number one, fight the terrorists. To the death. Not my death. To their own death. Send them to their own heaven that they think they're getting. Help them out. I'm not being sarcastic. Everything should be done to save lives when it's talking about that. Everything. If a terrorist kills out of a religious belief that he's going to heaven, and if it's a rumor, fine. If it's not a rumor, and you can bury the guy in pigskin because they don't believe he'll go up to heaven because they're buried in pigskin, and then bury the guy in pigskin. I don't care if it offends them. If he will not kill because we stripped him of his religious belief that killing is moral, understand, when they murder Jews, They don't think they're doing something wrong. They think they're doing something right and they're going to go to heaven. If we strip away that moral deficiency, if you want to call it, they won't be killing anymore. So if you say, look, we're going to bury you in pigskin and they'll stop killing, if it would work, do it. If you are not willing to do that to the terrorists who are killing you, you are not being humane. You are being as inhumane as possible to those victims who are being slaughtered, shot, rammed, and everything else by the terrorists. Fight those terrorists till the end. I wish they changed their ways. It would be great. They're not changing their ways. Stop it. They're not changing their ways. Saudi Arabia is one of the wealthiest countries in the world. They're funding terrorism right and left. Qatar, do I have to give you what's going on there? They're the number one funder of Islamic terrorism in the world. It's not about land. It's about a culture that's based in fanatic, racist, genocidal, religious base. Now, that doesn't mean all Muslims like that. Of course not. But I'm not discussing those moderates. I don't need a solution with those moderates. Now, I will say that, yes, Israel's got to do much more for the Arabs who are peaceful. Yeah, I want to see them getting a normal education. I want to see their roads built. I want their cities built. I want them being loyal citizens of Israel, the Jewish state. That's right, the Jewish state. It's very simple. The Jews, the Christians inside Israel, the Muslims inside Israel are free. Yeah, I want them to get a good education. I think it's horrible that if you have a village that's really loyal to Israel and doesn't want to destroy us, that's missing whatever it's missing, I'll be at the front row protecting those people, because that is what Judaism says when there are non-Jews living in the land of Israel. And they are loyal to the land of Israel, and they don't not looking to destroy the land, and they have basic morality. You have to take care of them. You have to take care of them and protect them, of course. We are not talking about human and civil rights. Nobody is going to tell me that because a person's a Muslim or Christian, an Arab or Buddhist or I don't care what, that they don't deserve human rights. Of course they do, but we're not discussing those people. So they have no problem. There's no solution to be sought there because there's no problem. The problems are those who are killing us. The problems are not those moderates. The problem is the leaders who are saying, Abu Mazen, the guy who got his doctorate on Holocaust denial. That's a problem. No deal. Why are we talking to him? Again, world opinion doesn't work. It doesn't work, people. We've tried it. It doesn't work. And the fact of the matter is, look at the fanatic Muslims. And I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be like them at all. But look at the fanatic Muslims around the world. ISIS is waving flags and slaughtering people. The Islamic regimes, 13 of them are in UNESCO. They're the leaders. They're the one who gets all the votes passed. They're the leaders there. Human rights doesn't exist in their countries. Women freedom? Are you kidding with me? I say it all the time. Israel has more female fighter pilots than Saudi Arabia has women drivers. But it doesn't matter. Iran? Really? If a woman goes in Iran, not just like gets beaten, but they're sitting in UNESCO. The UN, educational, social, and cultural, they're sitting there. They're voting on the United. We see world opinion has nothing to do with what you do. They're murdering people and they're up on a pedestal. We're trying as hard as we can to run a democratic country in a sea of Islamic radical regimes, and we're getting bombed right and left. It's got to stop. So number one, stop making deals with terrorists. Fight them. Number two, those moderates, take care of them. Now, if those moderates are not separating themselves clearly from the radicals, there's nothing to talk about. I don't want to hear about they're scared to speak up. I don't want to hear about it. 85% of Israeli Arabs said they're for the stabbings to keep going on when stabbings were going on in Jerusalem. Don't tell me about them being scared. The Arabs in Israel have nothing to fear. You have a Supreme Court judge who's Muslim. Don't give them this for a fact. It's not going to work. Okay? As soon as those moderates want to stand up for their rights, believe me, we'll do it. Where's the Arab Spring in Israel? Where's the Arab Spring in Gaza? Where's the revolt against their corrupt, their violent, for Israel, against their own people? Okay? So, again, I don't really care what the UN or UNESCO says. What are we doing? When we say to the world, yes, we are for a two-state solution. When we say those words, I am for a two-state solution. Anyone who says those words, what you basically said is, yes, we stole their land. You have given in their narrative. It's got to stop. Stop. And stop being shy and stop being scared to say it. We stole nothing. We stole nothing. We came back to a land that we were expelled from. 2,000 years, we never lost a connection to. We pray towards the Jerusalem. Muslims pray towards Mecca. Stop being scared to say the truth. We got to stop being proud of who we are. As Jews, number one, as Jews, we have no right to this land without us being Jewish. None. No right. Number two, the state of Israel, superbly proud about that. Absolutely. Technology, science, we request the world to people to help them out. Even if it's Turkey who opens their mouths against Israel every other day. So be proud of who you are. Stop giving into that narrative. This is what I do, at least. Now, I want to just tell you something that I did over the last couple of days. Someone told me I should do it. All these videos that I put about Israel, you know, that I do standing together, I do for the soldiers. That's my job. All these videos they do, the radio shows, the posts on Facebook that I'm trying to get the truth out there, the speeches, I get invited to speak overseas as well about Israel that I've done my last trip. And of course, any of you want to do that, just get in touch with me. So I opened up a Patreon page, which is basically a system where people can support you, I guess. So for every show that I do online or every post that I put on Facebook, if you want to be part of that and show your support, I would appreciate that. You can check it out on the Patreon's link, which I'll put up I'll put up in a couple of seconds, or have someone else put it up. I'd appreciate that. And of course, please do hit the link above. I want to remind you, I will be live from Jerusalem tonight in the old city of Jerusalem at around, I would say, 10:30, 11 o'clock Israel time. You're on Eastern Standard Time, count back 7 hours. I will be giving you a full tour of Jerusalem and some history there. And then tomorrow, don't forget, we get some grill and Torah going on. We are on we are Sukkot reading a special parsha, but we are coming to the last parsha in the Torah, V'zot HaBracha, and we're going to talk about what it means for us today. My message is clear, people. Start standing up for what's right. Start standing up for what's true. Start standing up for what's yours. Signing off, Ari Fold. We'll see you again next Thursday.